In June 2002, a teenager boarded Jeffrey Epstein's plane. Her modeling agent, Jean-Luc Brunel, sat beside her. She'd been brought out of Brazil to model. What came next was 20 years of what she calls captivity. The men who flew her, signed her, and lived off her, built careers off her, Brunel, Epstein, and Paolo Zampolli, Donald Trump's modeling world fixer, the man who claims he introduced Melania to Trump. Later, he became a special UN envoy for Donald Trump with a UN ambassador's title. Amanda Ungaro landed up having Zampoli's child, and when a court moved to grant her full custody with Zampolli owing years of child support, he didn't write a check. He used his government role to have her arrested, held for months in a deportation camp, and shipped back to Brazil. That's how the Trump administration works. The country she was trafficked out of as a girl now had to accept her back as a woman in defiance. This year, she's come back with an old email account, and in it, she found hundreds of Paolo Zampoli's messages copied to her, forwarded to her, sitting there for a decade, offers to get Ghislaine Maxwell real passports, as citizenship in Maxwell's invented ocean country, and a UN building run like a stage set. The teenager on that plane is a grown woman now, and she joins us tonight on Narativ. Let's welcome Amanda Ungaro from Brazil. Amanda, are you there? Hi, how are you?
Yes, hi. Thank you for having me here. I appreciate it.
It's great to have you on, and you've been through quite an ordeal. 3.5 months in captivity by ICE, and then you finally decided to deport yourself, basically, to Brazil. We'll get to the whole story of how that happened, but how are you doing today?
Well, a lot of things happen, a lot of traumas. Even like all these 20 years with Paulo, what I went through, besides like the police, like 10 police came to my house, break to my house, like in March of last year. And my son wasn't there. He went to school, but they was very brutal, like on the wall with pajamas, they start to take pictures. It's like, Paulo, right away, I thought myself.
Yeah, you knew right away it was Paulo who set this up for you.
Because Paulo used to send a lot of police all the time to my house, as he never, he didn't want to separate. He didn't want to give me the visa. He didn't want to get married. Like, I was incarcerated somehow. And my son also, because my son want to go to Brazil. And we fought like for 7 years. And I had to go to Supreme Court. So I was trying to separate from Paulo since 2017, 2018, when there was a very bad physical abuse.
And you were trapped in the situation because you didn't have your passport. You couldn't travel really without his permission.
He even paid under table the Prime Minister of Grenada, like $10,000 to get my visa, to renew my visa, because I didn't want to work at the United Nations. And we had the agreement with lawyers all signed. He was supposed to give a visa to me, and he didn't follow the agreement as always.
It's quite something, because your story, when it starts off in 2002, begins with you imagining a world of great success, right? I mean, you were a young Brazilian model who had the world at her feet now, this huge, vast opportunity open to her as a model.
I started with 13 years old. The first trip was with my mother to Milano. And the second, I was by myself. And I went to Paris to live in Paris. I was working super well in Paris with Ford models. And I met Jean-Luc Brunel through a friend, promoter. And Jean-Luc like, no, come with my agents. You're going to work much better. It's a smaller agents. I didn't know nothing about Jean-Luc Brunel, as I didn't know nothing about Jeffrey Epstein, you understand? And I had a job in New York the first time. And Jean-Luc, as my agent say, we're going to take a ride on my friend's plane. I'm like, okay, which friend? He's like, oh, there's this couple. They're very nice. Don't you worry, And I had to be in New York for this job. So when I arrived at the plane, like I saw almost 30 girls inside the plane. And they don't look like models, but they look very young girls.
How many? 38?
Like almost 30.
Oh, wow. Wow. On one plane. And then this man can get in.
Lolita Express.
Yeah. Wow. And how old were they, do you think?
15, 14, 16. Was a mix.
And what were they doing on the plane? Just traveling?
Well,
or just...
They were engaged very well. Ghislaine were engaged with the girls, like, best friends. And I saw some girls on like his legs, they're like they look like they all know each other. And I felt very uncomfortable. So Jean-Luc Brunel introduced me to Jeffrey, and he said, hi, are you Brazilian? Where are you from? How old are you? And then came Ghislaine, the same. They were super nice, but I felt super uncomfortable. I sit and I didn't talk with anyone until I arrived in New York. I thought there's something wrong, was not normal. I thought, Jean-Luc, listen, who is these girls? They're models. I'm like, they don't look like models. They look like students,
Right. So you could tell right away they weren't professional models. They were young students or young.
And I got really scared, to be honest with you.
Because why? What did
something wrong, right away. I'm 16, but I see two couples older with a lot of young girls there. I'm like, what's going on here?
You've told the story elsewhere, and I don't know if you're willing to talk about it here. Luc Brunel wanted to give you something on as you were leaving the plane.
Yeah. When we arrived in New Jersey, he threw a little bag to me. And I'm like, what is this? He's like, just put in your bag. I'm like, I'm not doing that. I figured out it was drugs. And I throw him back and he throw to me and I throw again. And I'm like, plane. I'm not doing that. And I'm like, figure out yourself. And then he got really upset and he put in his pocket. And then after we left the plane, and that's it. And I met Jeffrey Epstein only one time, and that's it. I never met him ever again in my life.
Ever again? You've never encountered him in other parties, in meetings in New York, nothing like that?
No.
So when did Paolo come into the picture then?
So when I was 15, I was with a success agency in São Paulo. I was having a casting with ID models. Mm-hmm. That's the first time when I met Paolo. And Paolo asked me, how old are you? I would say, I'm 15. And he's like, oh, you're too young to New York. That's it. When I was 17, I was with a women agency. I was not with Jean-Luc Brunel anymore, because I was with Ford in Brazil. And I went to women, and I met Paolo in a party in Manhattan with, these promoters, like free dinner party in New York. And then he came like, oh, are you Brazilian? I'm like, yes. And he's like, I speak Portuguese. I'm like, that's nice. And he's like, how old are you? What's your name? And then I turned my back and I didn't want to talk to him, Then when I went to Brazil, back to Brazil was in December, was Christmas. And I went to São Paulo to my agents before that. And Paulo came to Brazil with the booker of his agency, he found out which agents I was in Brazil, and he did a casting, and my agent say, oh, this guy is crazy about you, the owner of the agency, he want you in the agency, gonna work a lot, he bring the booker, he wanna meet you, and that's how we start.
And then you went to how did you get from that point to this being not a modeling thing, but a relationship thing?
Well, then they convinced me to move to ID models. Mm-hmm. And when I arrived on ID models, after 3 weeks, Paulo started to send me flowers, sugar, lots of sugar, And I'm like, this guy
Box
is
of
not
sugar.
like,
What's the sugar about? Was it like just sugar daddy? Was that the idea? Or what was
because he say I was very, I was not that sweet.
How did it happen that you landed up being his partner for so long?
We started to go out like about a month, like, and I didn't have nothing with him, like, until we get this trip to Miami. We start to go out. He like, I want to date you. I'm like, no, I just finished a relationship. I don't want to date anyone, you know. And I didn't even was very into him. And he sent me presents trying to, you know, like, oh, let's go to this dinner. But nothing happened for a month. Like, and then when we went to this trip to Miami, we stayed on his friend's house. That's when happened something. And that day also, when we returned to New York, we got a ride with Trump on his plane. That's when I met Trump and Melania. Miami to New York.
That was the other sort of express that was happening a lot, that a lot of people took that ride from Miami to New York on Donald Trump's plane. And what was it like to meet Donald Trump and Melania? You were, what, 17 at the time?
Yeah.
And how old was Melania?
I don't know. She's like 56 now, 57, something less.
A little older than you.
She's older than me, of course.
Did you become friends
She's
with Melania?
The same age as Paulo.
Okay. Did you become friends with Melania? You often was seen on the circuit with Paolo and them?
Very cold. Like commenting about my jeans. Like, wow, they're so low, you know, like your jeans. Where did you buy these jeans? I'm like, it's me 60, you know? And it's like, oh, but they don't do like so low like that. I'm like, oh, sure. Yeah, she was more colder, you know?
And so do you think as you're watching these Epstein hearings take place, and I mean, I know there's no Epstein directly in your experiences, but as we look at this broader modeling world that's now under the spotlight, do you think that Paolo Zampolli has a lot to answer for, especially with you directly, but more broadly in terms of bringing in these young women from around the world, and instead of giving them the modeling careers that they intended to give them or promising them, they landed up getting, basically human trafficked a lot of the time.
And that's happened a lot, honestly, like even in Brazil. Like there's models and there's the cute girls, they don't get a job and the agents know. So what they propose to the girls, go out with this client, maybe you can get this job, you know? I never had this problem, thanks God. You understand?
Because you were very successful as a model, which was good. But there was also this.
I was not a supermodel, but yes, if it was not, if I didn't stay with Paul, I could be very successful. Actually,
Do you think though that there should be some accountability for Paolo and the other modeling agency owners? And I mean, we're talking about people like Jeffrey Epstein, of course, he's no longer around, but Jean-Luc as well is not around, but Donald Trump, agency owner as well.
Yes.
Do these people have a responsibility to answer for those recruiting of underage girls, bringing them in across the world?
100%.
Yeah. So you think they should be investigated as well?
Of course. Everyone should be.
Mm-hmm.
This is like a corrupt mafia, like really bad, and all the high society of New York. If you saw Becca article, you can see that, and I released only few emails. I didn't release all